It's been 152 years since the second crisis.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed from Foundation Season 3, Episode 1, A Song for the Ending of Everything. And yes, just like Harry Seldon gives us predictions for the future, there will be spoilers in this video. So, this episode opens up, and as Gail Dornick says in the narration, it has been 152 years since the second crisis.
Wait, what's the second crisis?
Well, remember, the Foundation is a group started by a bunch of scientists and historians that now has expanded into a bigger interstellar government. Last season, they nearly went to war with Empire, a dynasty that has ruled for generations, thanks to 3 clone emperors all named Cleon. The second crisis was averted because the Foundation beat the Empire, and a kind of balance of power has returned. The episode opens with the Mule arriving on Calgan, a pleasure planet that both the Foundation and Empire are trying to control. The Mule wants the same thing that Foundation and Empire want, control of Calgan, because it would mean a way of controlling the rest of the galaxy. So this planet is basically neutral, and Gale warns us that the person who is about to show up is somebody who has haunted my dreams for years. This is the Mule, and Gale says once the Mule makes himself known, nothing will be the same again.
So why did she say the Mule was haunting her dreams? Has she met him?
Well, at this point, Gale has been having future tense versions of the Mule since Season 1, and that's because she has the power to see the future. The Mule arrives and turns the entire Calgan army against itself because his telepathic powers allow him to plant suggestions in people's minds. This is why he says, I require no army. I have talents, you see. Now, as the Mule takes control, we learn that the Cleon Dynasty, our cloned emperors, no longer command the stars. Gale's voiceover mentions that the Empire lost control of the Spacers, which Brother Dusk mentions again to Brother Dawn, blaming this moment on Cleon the 17th.
Wait, isn't that Lee Pace from Season 2? Or where's Lee Pace from this season?
Good point. And a big change from previous seasons, Brother Day, who is the middle, the Lee Pace clone, isn't acting as the ruling Cleon Emperor. Instead, Cassian Biltani's Brother Dawn is taking control. Now, we know from previous seasons that there's something called a genetic drift, meaning that the Cleon clones aren't as perfect as they once were. But right away, Season 3 presents a new dynamic between these 3 clone brothers. While addressing the Galactic Council on Clarion Station, Brother Dawn talks about the Merchant Princes, an alliance of traitors within the Foundation. He says that a splinter foundation is a benefit to the Empire.
Oh, is that what the second foundation is? Like a splinter foundation?
Not exactly. See, the second foundation is something else. It's a secret version of the Foundation created by Harry Seldon and Gale. And we don't actually catch up with that group until the end of this episode. The other thing that's going on with the Cleons is that Brother Dusk, the oldest one, is dreading his eventual transformation into Brother Darkness, which means that he will voluntarily or involuntarily have to die. We see an ominous scene of Dusk watching historical records of his predecessors all getting vaporized, a fate which awaits all Cleons. Dusk tells Dawn about the Runners, versions of Cleons that tried to run away from death at the last second. This could also be a sideways reference to the fact that in Season 2, one version of Brother Dawn did flee the Empire, along with his bride, Queen Sereth. Now, whether or not we'll hear more about those two in Season 3 remains to be seen. After checking in with the Mule and Empire, Gale's voiceover takes us to a new Terminus, which she says was born a parsec away from the original version of the planet. Gale explains that the Foundation has shed its religious roots, which is a reference to the Church of the Galactic Spirit, a kind of science-based faith that we saw in Season 2. On New Terminus, we meet a scientist named Ebling Miz, played by science fiction legend Alexander Siddig.
He was in Deep Space Nine!
That's right, but he was also in Foundation Season 1, where he played a man named Zillus who worked for Empire and prosecuted Seldon for heresy. Now, Ebling Miz actually references this fact by telling the AI version of Seldon that he is descended from a man named Zillus who prosecuted you during the reign of Cleon XII. Seldon notes that Miz had ruined his null field, which is a big deal since the null field was nearly impossible to traverse back in Season 1. Miz must be a pretty smart guy. So this version of Seldon also says, you have the myth, the man is elsewhere. So this references the fact that a flesh and blood version of Harry was reborn in Season 2, and this version of Seldon is a semi-immortal hologram who has his own version of a master plan. AI Seldon tells Miz that the reason Empire is doing better than the plan predicted is because Seldon gave Empire a copy of the Prime Radiant, which is the cool little gizmo that contains all the future predictions of psycho history. So Miz has taken taken aback by this, which brings up a cool plot twist from Season 2. Just why did Seldon give the Cleons and Demerzel a copy of the Prime Radiant? So there's a few different theories about this. First, Seldon actually doesn't want the Foundation to succeed long term, because he knows that the second Foundation, which is not included in the Prime Radiant, will actually be the people to fix everything. Second, maybe Seldon knows the Cleons will misinterpret the data or doesn't really care, or
Maybe the Prime Radiant doesn't predict the future at all. Like, maybe Seldon's plan is incomplete, right?
that is possible. Back in early Season 1, Gale worried that the equations weren't quite right, meaning that there were some missing pieces of the Seldon equations to make everything work. Let us know in the comments, by the way, what you think that missing piece could be. So soon we meet Han Pritchard, a captain of information who is hot on the trail of the Mule, and tells his superior that the Mule is a mutant possessing psychic capability. Now Han is also a badass risk taker. In order to gather intel on the traitors in the Mule, he grabs a Foundation spaceship and speeds away. We'll be seeing a lot more of him this season. Back on Trantor, the capital of the Empire, immortal robot Demerzel is having a kind of confession. She is talking to a member of the Luminous, a religious faith that Demerzel subscribes to even though she's a robot. So this comes from Season 1, in which Demerzel maintains her faith in the Luminous despite being programmed to serve the Cleons. In this scene, Demerzel confesses something that we actually already know, that she is a positronic robot. But while this is not shocking to those of us who have been watching Foundation since the beginning, it is shocking for the people who live in this world. And that's because there was a massive war way before the time of Cleon 1 in which a war destroyed all the robots. Demerzel talks about the laws of robotics, which date back to Isaac Asimov's I, Robot. As described, the laws of robotics are: a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey orders given to it by a human being, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And finally, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. Demerzel mentions the Zeroth law of robotics, a kind of overriding principle that came to exist because, as she puts it, as we grew, we found it difficult to know what would or would not harm you. At the end of her confession, Demerzel admits that she has the Prime Radiant, which gives her a kind of ultimate power to help or harm humanity, which seems to make her very scared about what happens to her in the future. If the Seldon plan is designed to destroy the Empire, what will Demerzel do with her life?
I wonder if Demerzel is ever going to break her programming and turn against the Cleon clones.
I mean, that's one theory, and let me know in the comments if you guys think that Demerzel can break free of her loyalty to the Cleons. Could she switch sides? Let us know what you think down below. So, after that huge scene with Demerzel, the episode ends with two more major events. We finally see this season's brother Day, who is living as a kind of Big Lebowski version of Cleon, hanging out away from the palace, trying not to be part of anything having to do with making big decisions. But Brother Dusk drags him back to the palace to discuss Demerzel's biggest concern. The Dark Ages that Harry Seldon predicted in Season 1 might actually happen after all, even though everyone is trying to prevent it. However, the math behind psychohistory might be rendered useless because of the Mule. At the very end of the episode, we return to Gale, who went into cryosleep at the end of Season 2. She is again having dreams about the Mule, and she is demanding to know where is the second Foundation. So at this point, from Gale's point of view, we have circled back to the ending of Season 2 again, as she says, the Mule is here, so we're out of time. So guys, what do you think? Do you think the Foundation Season 3 is going to show the Mule bringing on the Dark Ages? Is the Seldon plan totally over? Or is there a deeper plan that Harry Seldon has not yet revealed? Let us know what you think down in the comments, and we will see you next week as we break down the next game-changing episode for Foundation Season 3, which drops new episodes every Friday on Apple TV+, the sponsor of this video. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.